necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new gods for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish their right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative power, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amounts and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an indistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of a right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Where's that? Welcome back to a special episode of the Ministry of Truth. I am your number one host on this show, and God bless America. One of my favorite days of the year next to Halloween. Whew. 2 holidays that mean a lot. Why? Because we were founded. We liberated ourselves from the oppression of a tyrannical leader. Sound familiar? 2024, 1776, 1775. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what do I have for you today? Honestly, I forgot what I had on the lineup for today. I got some news segments I definitely need to go over about shitty people, parents, Republicans, Democrats, and then, YouTubers and, people that should have their face melted off, only to have it super glued back on just to rip it off. Before we get into that, we got a message from the Don. Not really the Don, but it's fun nonetheless.
They tried to lock me up for January 6th. Supreme Court ruled that it wasn't legit. Now leftists online are throwing a fit. Joe Biden is a piece of shit. Back again to make America great. I kick Sleepy Joe's behind in the debate. Make crypto great again, lower capital gains. We don't listen to the lamestream news, they're fake. We all know in 2020 I didn't lose. Check batters pitch now, I bet there's a pool. Fenny Willis is corrupt, everybody knew. Judge Angor on Fat Alvin too. The whole Biden DOJ is corrupt, it's a clown show. What a joke, everybody knows. I'm an American badass, a patriot. I love America, I'm not afraid to say that shit. If you love America, say hell yeah. If you love America, say hell yeah. I'm an American badass, a patriot. I love America, I'm not afraid to say that shit. If you love America, say hell yeah. If you love America, say hell yeah. No taxes on tips. If you vote for me, stop the whole deep state, drain the whole DC. Big Mike has a bigger than me. I bet you miss my cheap gas and mean tweets. They accuse me of everything they do. If you're born with the penis, then you're a dude. I don't really care if you think that I'm rude. Under me, at least, people could afford their food. Kamala's a joke. Joe is corrupt. Big Mike is a dude, and he keeps it tucked. Kamala's a joke. Joe is corrupt. Big Mike is a dude, but he keeps it tucked. No, seriously, I've seen that thing up close, it's disgusting. I'm an American badass, a patriot. I love America, I'm not afraid to say that shit. If you love America, say hell yeah. If you love America, say hell yeah. I'm an American badass, a patriot. I love America, I'm not afraid to say that shit. If you love America,
correct,
say
100%.
hell yeah. If you
I would've
love
done the same
America,
thing.
say hell yeah.
My fellow Americans, I just wanted to tell you how much I
Now that everybody is well motivated for a happy Independence Day episode, that was it. Welcome to the real world. Although that is my real world. God damn, I love this country. Gladly lose my life for it. Fuck yeah. Fuck you, government. This is the day where we can tell our government, fuck off, because we don't like tyranny. Remember, this country was started by an insurrection. Good morning, Jenna. By the way, guys, I got some new socks. You want to see them? Yeah, check these bad boys out. Oh. It's my holiday edition. Now that everybody's here in a semi-good mood, well, I'm going to try to keep you in a semi-good mood. However, this is a serious topic. It always involves either men, women, and children. Why do people think it's A-OK, USA, to fucking target women and children? I'll tell you why. Because they're a bunch of faggot pussies, that's why. What do you want me to say? Let's see, the first story we got. Oh, actually, this is another feel-good story. This is Benny Johnson. I like Benny Johnson sometimes, but I rarely ever re-show his shit. But this episode, I think it's needed. And then after that, it's the bullshit.
Words should have new meaning for all of us today.
What up, General
We
Ski
can't
Monkey?
be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We're fighting for our right to live. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate.
We should take our country
Independence
back.
Day.
Damn, I sound like...
Happy 4th of July in this, the greatest country on earth. It is the greatest country because of our founders, and our greatest founder, inarguably, is George Washington. George Washington fought a lot of wars.
Joe and the
He was
hoe.
obviously a man who was
got to go.
very good at that, won us our independence, then became president, and then upon leaving office, he warned America of one very important...
So, if Joe Biden decided, hey, I'm still gonna run, blah, 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 why don't the Democrats that are like, oh my God, this dude's a fucking pile of shit, but at the same time, we don't want Trump. Did you guys forget? RFK exists. Granted, I don't believe in reparations and birth all the way up to the 3rd trimester. Birth, abortion. But hey, that's RFK for you. Dominique, how are you? All right, back to Benny Johnson.
important thing. Don't get entangled in foreign conflict. Effectively, don't go about the whole damn world looking for fights. Stay out of them. Wars are costly in American treasure. And I love Donald. I love the strength. I love the move. I love the Bill dropping there. Let's go, boy. Strength, wars. Right. Yeah. 4th of July. We should listen to the people that created this country. Pretty smart.
What up, Yeti?
And I think they'd be
what up, Benny?
Right? It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. Happy 4th of July. See ya.
Where's the fucking ad at?
Pretty smart dudes. And I think
You
they'd be
fucked up, Benny.
really
And we're ready for it.
You ready for this?
fighting for, right?
2024, it's our final battle. We're either going to have a country greater than ever before, or we're not going to have a country at all. And we're ready for it. Are we ready?
Oh,
we're
yeah.
ready.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through.
You must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American
Junie?
liberty is your God-given right.
Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you're gonna be with me for the last round.
Now you're going to be with me for the last ride.
Hey.
Baby is going. It does sound like Biden popping out. So the polls
you,
in
Benny.
everywhere, like this one, is brand new from
All
New
right. Maybe I should have actually paid attention, but I saw the ad. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what do we have? Actually, I don't think so, man, because I think he's already endorsed him, Yeti. Because a lot of rappers are now. All right. So now let's get to the scum and the American nightmare. We're based on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, do we not take life seriously? Do we not take liberty seriously? Well, in this case, criminals don't give a shit. They obviously don't take care of life, unless it's theirs. They don't care about freedom because they're taking away people's freedom and the pursuit of happiness. Some will never be happy again. So by them, being pieces of shit and criminals not caring about laws, they could essentially ruin an American dream for a young kid for the rest of their life. You like how I threw that in there?
Mom got out of jail a few weeks ago, time served for not reporting her daughter missing. But now police in Cornelius, North Carolina, have publicly named her as a suspect in the girl's disappearance. I'm joined now by Jennifer Thompson. She's the Deputy Chief of Cornelius Police. Thank you so much, Deputy Chief, for being on. What was Diana Kochikari's story to the police for why she said nothing about her child being missing for all those weeks?
First of all, thank you for having me, Ashley. I really appreciate it. There were several different stories that we were told once police got involved, but nothing substantial other than she just didn't know.
She didn't know?
No.
I mean, it sounds certainly hinky, a mother who hasn't seen her daughter for an hour after school starts to get, panicked. Is there an issue of mental health here? Is there an issue that she seems suspicious when she talks to the police? Like, what's her overall MO, her story?
Well, her story is the fact that she did not tell police that her daughter was missing for 3 weeks. And it took school officials pressing her.
Listen, my kid's been missing for 3 weeks. I didn't know how to report it. You didn't know how to report a missing kid for 3 weeks. Did you Google it? You should have Googled it. Google. What do I do when my kid is missing? Oh, I should report it. My bad. Should have Googled this 3 weeks ago.
To produce Madalena. And it wasn't until she was told to come to the school and bring Madalena with her, that's when the school resource officer got involved and we began our investigation. So, Diana never reported her daughter missing. It was the school officials and the school resource officer that got the ball rolling in this case.
So when the school called Diana and said, hey, where's Madalena? Did Diana lie to them and say, all's fine, she's sick, she's somewhere else, she's visiting? Like, did she have stories for why her daughter wasn't in school? I'm just trying to get what she was saying all these weeks.
There was a variety of stories that she told the school, which obviously, provided some time. But ultimately, when we approached the 3rd week mark, the school wasn't having it anymore and demanded that she come to the school and bring Madalena with her.
Oh,
and
shit.
then when Diana showed up by herself without Madalena, obviously,
Sitting here streaming, and I just got a membership to PP Mass. Isn't that cool? How the fuck did that happen? I'm not even over there.
it alarmed all of us.
So, Deputy Chief, once the police got involved, obviously, the school resource officer, the school, they call the police become involved. Did Diana just button up and not talk, or did she have also tall tales to tell the police about where her daughter was? When she was asked officially on the record, where's your daughter? What was her answer?
Yeah, so when we became involved in December 15th, of course, we tried to speak with her, and ultimately she was arrested the next day. So there were a variety of stories. Unfortunately, none of them led us to where Madalena was or why. But it was pretty tight-lipped, and not a whole lot of solid information for any of us to go on.
You think she sold her?
I mean, and it's hard, right? Because there's parenting and there's parenting. And sometimes some people just don't parent, meaning, oh, I don't know, she got off the bus, she rarely comes home. And that could be true. That's the hard part of trying to assess whether someone is, the least bit truthful. So she served time for not reporting, but she's an official suspect now. What does that mean officially when she's a suspect? Like, how has her life changed, or how have things changed for her?
So Diana, Madalena's mother, has always been a person of interest, in Madalena's disappearance. She's her mother. Madalena is 11 years old at the time of her disappearance. Mothers should know where their children are.
Should have been the primary.
And if not,
you didn't report it for 3 fucking weeks.
If you don't know where they are, you reach out to authorities for help. And that didn't happen. Once we got involved,
we should say, I was just going to say, it's. I'm just running out of time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cut you off. But
Sure.
We should also say that so many people will say, well, what about the father? There was no father in this particular case. There was a stepfather who also didn't report and served time. But keep us posted, would you please, Deputy Chief, on this case? We're desperate to get answers, I'm sure, as you are, and those who love Madalena. And thank you for being on tonight. I really appreciate this.
Kid went missing. Either she didn't notice or she knows exactly what happened. Didn't report it for 3 weeks. Mother of the year. Actually, Casey Anthony's probably mother of the decade, century. Doesn't report her for 3 weeks. 20 months later, still missing. Mom, what'd you do to your child? I would totally have been like, oh shit, maybe the mom's innocent if she had reported it within 12 hours. Well, shit, 3 hours if we're supposed to report coming home from school. And then I would have gotten my buddies back there. Not done, but they're down there. And we would have definitely acquired information. It's crazy. Parenting, I'd like to say it's a privilege. Because it's amazing to be a parent. To create a life and watch them grow. Until they eventually you can't see and they're still growing and you're growing some flowers, pushing daisies. Morbid? Nah. What's next? Ooh!
New information.
Let's go to some teachers in Slidell. I believe that's in Mississippi. It's right on the border of Mississippi and Louisiana. And well, apparently they have a little thing for underage boys. Let's see their story. Hello, Bat Mom.
New information this afternoon about two teachers accused of having inappropriate relationships with students at Slidell High School. Police say an investigation into one of the teachers led to additional charges against her and the arrest of another teacher. WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor is getting inside information from another teacher.
Yes, it's happy 4th of July. However, this is not for you, this is just in general. Did you know that it's actually called Independence Day? Would you call Christmas happy 25th of December? No, you would say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, fuck you, give me a present. Do we call Halloween the 31st of October? That would kind of ruin the marketing gimmick. But it's okay. I just think in a different way. Maybe I'm on the spectrum.
Teacher at that school. Shay, what have you learned?
Still need my watch back.
Travis, I actually spoke with the teacher who did not want to be identified out of fear of retaliation, but that teacher tells me that the two teachers, or the two former teachers, were actually really good friends here at the high school. Now, on your screen right now, that's the mugshots of both women. That's 35-year-old Alexa Wingirter and 31-year-old Shelby Kavanagh. Now, this teacher tells me not only were the two women well connected within the St. Tammany school system, but several teachers and students within the school have been complaining to administrators at the school about claims of sexual misconduct with Wingirter in particular for years. Now, yesterday, Kavanagh was arrested and Wingirter rearrested on additional charges. Wingirter was originally arrested back in April. The investigation started in March. Now, both teachers now face charges from sexual conduct between an educator and student to indecent behavior with a juvenile, each accused of having inappropriate relationships with multiple male students. The teacher I spoke with today says administration here turned a blind eye to the claims.
They've known. They've known on more than one occasion, not just this year, for the past several years, several different teachers over several different occasions have spoken to several different administrators. And because of who Alexa Wingirter was, who she was friends with, who she was related to, it just got swept under the rug.
Oh.
And on your screen right now, a statement from board president James Broad. It says, quote, "Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but if it's true, and if it's been going on for years, someone should have said something about it or reported it per the law long before this." Now, based on St. Tammany jail records, it looks as though both former teachers were booked yesterday, but then also released. Wingirter on a $40,000 bond and Kavanagh on a $7,500 bond. I have much more on this at 5 and 6, reporting live from Slidell.
So, school administrators knew for years. But who did she know? Who were her connections? Reminds me of I can't remember that dude who got Huckabee's thing. Approval. Pedo. It's just crazy to think years. Is it because they need teachers and teachers are really what's the word? Undermanned around the world, around the country. Teacher shortage. And when you watch shit like this, you think you have males that fuck, all I wanted to do was teach kids. And then they watch all this and they finally get to high school and they're like, well, I don't want high school. College and be like, you know what? I don't want to be a fucking teacher anymore. I don't want to run the risk of somebody saying this happened. When do you know people will lie at the same time? Because it'll ruin you, whether it's a lie or not. Because you'll have the stigma. The officials that knew, in my opinion, need to be punished as an accessory. You can do that, right? An accessory to a crime? Maybe that would make people report the shit more. If law enforcement knew and did nothing, accessory to a crime. I think that should happen. Maybe I'll email Commerce. He's going to be here for election day. I'm going to fucking talk to him. He's actually a former Army guy that still lives in this town. Pretty cool. Mark Green.
This is...
Oh. I can't remember if this is the cult one or not. Hold on. Oh, no, I have two cult ones. Okay. So this one's actually a predecessor to the main one that I want to show.
Breaking news from the Fox 59 newsroom.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we found Bryson, and that's who we were wanting to find.
And Fox 59 continues our team coverage of breaking news this afternoon. A young boy considered missing for more than 2 weeks is now safe, and his parents, including a former Colts player, are in jail. Daniel and Kristen Muir walked out of the courtroom after a judge denied them bond during their initial hearing. Thanks for joining us here first at 4. I'm Nick McGill.
And I'm Max Lewis in for Aaliyah today. Fox 59 has team coverage on this story, from the charges that couple faces to our exclusive footage of this morning's raid and to a look at the group behind that compound.
Yeah, we were going to begin in court here, though. Fox 59's Michael Van Scoik joins us now from the Cass County Courthouse. After sitting in on that hearing, Michael, what can you tell us now?
Well, Nick and Max, we heard that Cass County Judge Stephen Kitts denied bond for former Indianapolis Colt Daniel Muir and his wife Kristen Muir. Now, the two of them facing multiple charges. The judge cited reasons for denying those charges as the pair being a potential flight risk. Now, this came as a surprise to Muir. You could see that he was visibly upset by this decision. You could audibly hear making remarks to his attorneys about this decision. Now, Muir and his wife Kristen are both charged with obstruction of justice. Daniel is also charged with domestic battery in this case. Now, defense attorneys say Kristen is a nursing mother and asked the judge for a possibility of a GPS monitoring system from the court. Judge Stephen Kitts says this decision to deny bond has been based on the couple's failure to comply with anything over the past 2 weeks. Daniel Muir's defense attorney did briefly speak to us on camera, telling us he's shocked by the judge's decision to deny bond.
Your family has been improperly targeted, and they're not guilty of any abuse or illegal activity. They're entitled to their day in court and due process.
Now, in the last hour and a half, we also got a copy of the probable cause affidavit that mentions that DCS is investigating other potential claims of abuse within the family. Meanwhile, defense attorneys for the Muir family would not go into specifics of this case. We also know that they'll be back in court on July 16th at 9 a.m. That's for another hearing where they'll discuss the couple's bond and a no contact order. For now, in Cass County, Michael Van Scoik, Fox 59 News.
All right.
Hey, just be famous, guys, and you'll get it off
breaking
lightly. Oh shit! What the hell? Okay. It's the child abuse shit that I take personal. And I see how easily fucking people can get away with it. And then the whole, I'm a nursing mother. Can I have an ankle monitor? Nah, bitch. We can put you in a special ward by yourself. Or the hospital. I don't know. Breast pump. Don't fucking beat your kids. Don't abuse your kids. Because it'll catch up with you one day. And now to another productive man of society. This guy thinks it's okay to, I don't know, dismember kids. Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania. One of your guys
News, the Mercer County coroner has identified human remains that were found in the Shenango River Reservoir as those of 14-year-old Paul Likens.
And tonight, a man has been arrested in Likens' death. Jen Barrasso is talking to investigators.
State police arrested and charged Deshaun Watkins. He's accused of killing and cutting up a teenager from Sharon who was reported missing recently. On June 25th, a person reported to police finding dismembered human remains in the area of Shenango Lake in Clarkborough, Mercer County. State police recovered more remains in different areas around the lake. The coroner identified the victim as 14-year-old Paul Likens. State police used information from Likens' cell phone provider, social media records, and surveillance video. They say that the victim met Deshaun Watkins at a canoe launch in Sharon early Sunday morning, June 23rd. Surveillance video captured Watkins' vehicle leaving the canoe launch to his apartment. A short time later, police say video surveillance showed Watkins making several trips out of his apartment, carrying multiple bags and garbage bags. The cause of death is ruled a sharp force trauma to the head. State police say they served a search warrant on Watkins' apartment and collected blood from inside that apartment. Sources telling me at this apartment to the head. Garbage bags. The cause of death is ruled a sharp force trauma to the head. State.
Oh. She didn't say blunt force. So it had to be some kind of axe, knife, hatchet. Interesting.
Police say they served a search warrant on Watkins' apartment and collected blood from inside that apartment. Sources telling me at this point they don't know the relationship between the two, but Watkins told police he used a social media app to meet up with an individual described to match Likens. Jennifer Barrasso, KDK TV News.
This morning, a former Indianapolis.
Oh, I already played that one. Did y'all see that though? Social media app. Young boy. Social media app. Sound familiar? Some of these motherfuckers, they don't care. And the fact that he was Yeti. Dismembered? Yeah. That was calculated. And now let's go to cults and children and how they survive.
1978, 5 people were shot dead, including a woman named Patricia Parks. During the attack, her daughter Tracy went missing in the forest, along with 4 other kids. 1 hour earlier, this footage shows the airstrip minutes before the attack. The woman with the red coat around her waist is Patricia. Her daughter Tracy has already boarded this smaller plane. The final images capture these 3 men with guns on the right. 3 hours earlier, the camera captures 12-year-old Tracy wiping tears with her hat. As the Parks family are packing their belongings onto the truck, people from the commune show their anger, yelling at them.
Don't bring those kids back here! Don't you touch my kids!
24 hours after this footage was taken, 918 people are found dead, and Tracy is nowhere to be found. The events that led to the Jonestown massacre would remain a mystery, unless, by some miracle, someone can rescue its youngest survivor, 12-year-old Tracy Parks.
Today, the Jonestown story got much worse.
910 died in the poison ritual of the People's Temple.
They shot the reporters on the ground, the congressman.
It's just nothing we can do to protect ourselves or to get anybody else out of there, you know?
The possibility that children are alive has faded to very little chance at all.
We have no positive indication here that there are people out there wandering through the jungle.
Other relatives will not be satisfied until there has been a thorough aerial search of the jungle of northwest Guyana.
The year is 1966. In the quiet town of Redwood Valley, California, Gerald Parks moves in with his loving family. Worried about the Cold War and a possible nuclear disaster, Parks and his wife Patricia have driven all the way from Ohio with their 3 kids, their son Dale, their daughter Brenda, and their 6-week-old baby girl, Tracy. The Parks are among the hundreds of people who followed Reverend Jones to California. Redwood Valley is to be the perfect shelter for Gerald and his family, a great place to raise little Tracy. 1973, 7 years later, Jones announces that he's building a paradise city in South America. He calls it the People's Temple Agricultural Project, but it will later be known only as Jonestown. This is to be the promised land, but contrary to Gerald and Patricia, Tracy is not at all excited. August 1st, 1977. An article is published in New West magazine condemning the People's Temple, talking about allegations of abuse. Still, more and more followers of Reverend Jones make the move to this so-called Paradise City. Families left behind are worried about loved ones. Months pass, and no one's heard from the Parks family since they left. November 17th, 1978. Senator Leo Ryan from California flies to Guyana with his legal aid and the NBC camera crew to investigate.
The word we were getting was that there was an armed encampment.
His goal was simply to go there and try to determine if people were being held against their will, and if so, to try to get them out of there.
The entire trip to the city of Jonestown is documented on tape. The images you see here will later be found abandoned on this Guyana airstrip.
I'm from the United States government. We're here to inquire into the health and the welfare of American citizens who are here.
As he arrives at the camp, Leo Ryan is met with an unexpected scene. Cheerful children playing and smiling, adults in colorful clothing, dancing and singing.
How could you not be impressed that out of the jungles of Guyana, they had carved out a community?
Rice, black-eyed peas, more peas. You have different containers around the place. Couldn't go through all the tremendous inventory. They built up Kool-Aid.
At first glance, Jonestown really does look like a great place to live.
Oh, it's really nice here. We're going on a scouting mission to get some barrels along with the leaves.
They really love it here in Jonestown, as you can see.
But something floats in the air, something hidden behind the eyes. Are all these people really happy?
Some people have said
like
they couldn't leave if they wanted to. Do you think you could?
Yeah, if I really wanted to, I'm free to go. If I was really wanted to, I'd be able to free to go. Well, I believe it. I've been here a few days, and I have absolutely no complaints at all. It is really nice here.
When evening comes, the townsfolk have prepared a celebration for the senator.
It was a vibrant community. I would never have imagined that something was very, very wrong.
I think that all of you know that I'm here to find out more about questions that have been raised about your operation here. But I can tell you right now that from the few conversations I've had with some of the folks here already this evening, that whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened to them in their whole life.
But behind this cheerful demonstration hides a disturbing reality. As one of the journalists passes along the pavilion, a man secretly hands him a note. The note reads, "Help us get out of Jonestown." November 18th, the following day, at 11:30 a.m., Gerald's mother, Edith Parks, walks up to Senator Ryan directly and says, "We're being held prisoner here." Taken aback, Senator Ryan asks Gerald if what his mother says is true.
I said, "We've been here 7.5 months. We want to go home."
No one can imagine the horror Gerald and his family went through, but the next 72 hours will be the worst 12-year-old Tracy will ever live. Tracy's story begins in Redwood Valley, years earlier.
I think that my dad just truly believed that Jim Jones was a good man in the beginning.
Being born in the People's Temple, Tracy has been taught her whole life that Jim Jones is a man chosen by God.
Come forth, my dear. Stand up. Take that step. Bless your heart. Take that step.
At one gathering, he asks a woman in a wheelchair to stand up. As she slowly begins to rise, the crowd is overcome with emotion. Then, he asks her to walk.
Move forward. Move forward, darling. You can do it.
Step after step, he asks her to move towards him. Until...
I don't know how these people ever got away with that.
With my own eyes, I thought, how can I deny it, you know?
Yeah.
What Gerald doesn't know,
I was healed by the power of man's word, saying that he was talking through Jesus, because I am the chosen one. Please stand up. Please stand. There we look at just brothers and sisters. She's standing up. It's the power of God.
at the time is that the woman in the wheelchair who stood and walked among the crowd was actually one of Jones' secretaries, hired for the spectacle.
My personal feelings with Jim Jones were always good ones. I always thought he was handsome. Just watching him, I would just be mesmerized.
Some people see a great deal of God in my body. They see Christ in me, a hope of glory.
But when I got old enough to realize the difference between good and bad, I noticed that all of the meetings weren't happy meetings.
Every Wednesday, Jim Jones offers a different kind of meeting to his followers. He calls them catharsis, the purging of evil.
If you got caught talking to people that were not affiliated with the church, then you would be in trouble for that.
Members, even children, could be called to the front and be hit repeatedly with a paddle, while the entire congregation is made to laugh at you.
I would find myself looking around at all the adults, thinking to myself, you can't think this is okay. You just can't. I was scared to do anything wrong because I was scared I was going to be called up and be beaten.
As the Parks family...
Let's go conspiracy theory here. So they got off by watching kids get punished, and the kids were in fear that they would get called up. Harness the fear of the children, right? Live forever. Sound familiar?
Family is getting ready to follow Jim Jones to Guyana. Tracy is deeply troubled.
I can't figure out for the life of me why my parents went when the red flags were here.
I want to give you more than I have. I want you to be greater than I am. And if you don't want to go this route, then go to hell where you want to, but don't bother me.
I remember landing in a little plane on the Port Kaituma airstrip that's not very far from Jonestown.
As Tracy gets off the plane with her family, the air is so thick and so hot, she can hardly breathe. The family now has to board a tractor to be taken to Jonestown.
When we came up on them gates, they were standing there with guns. And at that moment, I knew I had just entered the gates of hell.
I said, I feel like I'm making the biggest mistake of my life.
Right away, Tracy and her family are stripped from all of their belongings, including their passports. Then, Tracy is separated from her parents.
They told my parents right then and there, she's going to be staying in the kids' area and you guys are going to be going to your own cottage. I was devastated.
According to Jim Jones, family bonds are selfish. But the truth is, he wants to turn family members against one another. And the best way to do that is to isolate them. Already, Tracy's father Gerald knows he's made a mistake. The next morning, while walking around the grounds, Gerald runs into his own cousin.
And she said, how do you like Jonestown? I said, I don't. That's all was said.
But the power Jim Jones has on his followers is already very strong. That night at the gathering, Gerald is called to the front. His cousin has told on him.
So my dad was up in front of all the people. One of the security guards came over and just started wailing on my dad. And I jumped out of my chair to go up there. And I yelled, get that bee off my dad. And this person grabbed me and said, if you know what was good for you, you would sit down.
Father cares. Father cares. You can tell in his voice he cares.
I had to act like I was one of them, but I never give up hope. I thought somehow, we'll get out of here.
But acting like everything is fine won't be easy, especially not for little Tracy. She discovers quickly that Jones forces his followers to work incredibly long hours. The day starts at 6 a.m. when the guards pass around yelling for people to wake up. Tracy jumps out of bed and runs to the breakfast table.
In the morning, rice and milk with bugs in it, and maybe for dinner we had rice and gravy.
After eating, Tracy would have to run to her post where she'd work the rest of the day until dark. By nightfall, she would attend mandatory meetings of Jim Jones screaming and preaching for hours, most of the time spreading fear, talking about threats outside in the jungle.
I got a hell of a lot of weapons to fight. I got my claws, I got compasses, I got guns, I got dynamite, I got a hell of a lot to fight. I'll fight.
Listening to Jim Jones preach till whatever time in the morning he got done. Might be 2, might be 3. You'd get
1984 dystopia. The hour or the minutes of the minute of hate. This dude preached everything outside that was bad. Hate everything outside here is bad. This is the only place. I have you protected. You look up to me and I will protect you. But this is God's work. Right, big brother?
hit with a cane if you were falling asleep. The kids would just be laid all over the floor. They couldn't keep them awake.
And then there are the White Nights, the most terrifying meetings of all. To test the loyalty of his followers, Jim Jones forces everyone to drink a fruit punch that may or may not be poisoned.
Who in the hell wouldn't be ready for a white night? How do you feel about it? You may die tonight.
But Gerald Parks knows that for Jim Jones, this is a rehearsal.
I knew those white nights he was having was fake at the time, but I also knew that one day one of them would not be fake.
Since 1976, Jim Jones and his close crew have been buying cyanide in preparation for the mass murder of his followers. Gerald needs to act fast, but the Guyana forest is one of the most dangerous in South America. Jim Jones makes sure everyone knows this.
He would often throw that in our face. Go ahead and try. Go ahead and try to run through the jungle. The panthers and the snakes.
See if you can make it to any railway. See if you can get to any passport. Try. I dare you to try.
It's November 17th, 1978. Jim Jones tells his followers that Senator Ryan is coming. Jones wants to prevent a possible crisis. He takes certain precautions.
Prepping everybody mentally for you better not get out of hand. You better be on your best behavior.
I'm from the United States government. We're here to inquire into the health and the welfare of American citizens who are here.
They had a big musical, singing, dancing, and everything to make him see how happy everybody was.
Whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened to them in their whole life.
When hearing this speech, Tracy's heart drops. If Senator Ryan could be fooled, no one else would come and save them. November 18th, the following morning, Gerald and his mother Edith walk up straight to Senator Ryan to tell him the truth.
I said, we've been here 7.5 months. We want to go home. And he said, well, you'll be back in the United States today.
But Gerald isn't so sure. Other families begin to come forward as well. Soon, more than a dozen Temple members have stepped up with the Parks family, wanting to defect. Jim Jones confronts Gerald's family about their intention to leave. Gerald wearing the white and blue top, his daughter Brenda standing behind him. Although Jones is obviously shocked by the news, he doesn't make much of a scene.
I went into a state of shock and I started crying. And I had my hat and I was wiping my eyes. I was crying in utter fear.
Although Senator Ryan thinks he can get these people home safely, no one else is convinced. While the defectors are dragging their belongings onto the tractor that will take them out of Jonestown, chaos begins to spread.
You bring those kids back here! Hold on a second. You bring them back! One second, just a second. Don't you touch my kids!
They were calling us names. The lawyer asked me, said, what's really going on over here? And I said, the bastard's going to kill us all. That's what's going on.
The road to the airstrip is 6 miles long and in horrible condition. Tension is on everyone's face, but no one says a word.
My wife was on the truck. Our eyes met, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and neither one of us said anything.
As they finally arrive at the landing strip in Port Kaituma, 33 people prepare to board 2 planes, splitting the Parks family. The camera is still rolling. You can see Gerald Parks approaching the plane with his family in tow. Then, behind them at the dirt road, a truck arrives with armed men. They were followed. The gunmen open fire. Right away, Patricia Parks is shot dead. 4 more people are killed on the airstrip, including NBC reporter Don Harris and Senator Ryan. The cameraman Bob Brown is also killed. Many more are gravely wounded. But Tracy is on the other plane with her brother Dale. Gerald doesn't know if they're alive.
I couldn't get my seatbelt off. I heard my mom holler, look at my wife Patty. If I looked back, she was sitting slumped over with her top of her head gone.
Finally, the shooting stops, and the truck drives away.
I just stood there for a few seconds, and it's like a bad dream, or this can't be happening. We were expecting at any moment for them to come back.
In the smaller plane, a man who pretended to be a defector has opened fire at point blank. After shooting one of the adults, he turns his gun toward Dale, Tracy's brother.
The sound went off, sounded like the bullet came out, and my brother's hands flew back. I got out of the plane and I flew down that airstrip. God gave me wings because I don't think I touched the ground.
Gerald sees Tracy running toward him. He means to shield Tracy from the horrible sight, but she's too fast.
I told myself she was faking, so they wouldn't shoot her anymore.
I knew that I had to get her to safety. So I headed the girls towards the jungle and said, go in there, don't go too far, go in there so you can't be seen, and wait till we call you.
We just started running straight out into the jungle.
As Gerald and his mother remain on the airstrip, Tracy, her sister Brenda, and 3 other kids are now by themselves.
We just ran so far because of the fears of Jones instilling in us, I'll find you, you escape.
See if you can make it to any railway. See if you can get to any passport. Try. I dare you to try.
So we thought he was probably looking for us.
Before night came, we went back to the jungle, started hollering for the kids. And no response. That's when my heart dropped, because I knew Guyana's one of the most dangerous jungles in the world.
When darkness falls, the kids find a bent-over tree to climb and spend the night. As the world around them turns pitch black, they hear gunshots.
We thought that it was them coming back to finish them off on the airstrip. We figured, okay, now Dad and them's gone, so now we don't have anybody. And that was the worst night I could ever recall in my life.
November 19th, day 2 in the jungle. Tracy starts to feel ill. Having nothing to eat or drink, her condition deteriorates rapidly. Her sister Brenda, being the eldest, does her best to keep the children moving, knowing that Jim Jones' men are probably out there looking for them. Night falls on the second day. A search helicopter flies overhead, probing the grounds with its light. The children find cover to avoid being seen. They can't risk going back to Jonestown. That night, Tracy develops a high fever. Everyone else starts to get sick as well.
And I remember just begging the creator of this universe to take me. The feeling of giving up was like a relief, that you didn't have to keep trying.
November 20th, day 3. All 5 children are laying sick and exhausted on the jungle floor. Brenda no longer has the strength to carry the group along, but she can't let her little sister Tracy down.
I just remember thinking that if we don't get out of here today, we're not going to get out at all. I heard this music out here in the middle of a jungle. Who or where would even be playing it? Where would it be coming from?
My sister hit me. She goes, "Get up."
It was like it had snapped me back to reality, which allowed me to think. And as soon as that happened, that music turned to the sound of a generator.
The group follows Brenda through the wilderness. Brenda hurries them to run between the trees, stopping at times to listen for the sound, then running again. After a long while, they see a group of armed men patrolling alongside a river.
I thought they were going to either help us or they're going to take us back to Jones, and I was too sick to care.
Police come and told me that the kids had been found. For the first time I had something to smile about.
Tracy and Brenda are reunited with their father, their grandmother, and their brother Dale alive and well.
I knew when I saw him, I'm going home. I'm going to be able to go home. And that was the first time I had ever really felt that since the day I had hit the gates to go in.
Although Tracy and her sister can finally breathe a sigh of relief, the joy of this heartfelt reunion is short-lived. They learn the details of what happened inside Jonestown the day of the attack. November 18th, 2 days earlier. At 4:30 p.m., Jim Jones calls the members of the People's Temple to assemble at the pavilion. The area is surrounded by armed guards. The meeting is recorded on audio tape.
Gather in, folks. It's easy. It's easy.
Jones has ordered for the cyanide to be mixed with the Kool-Aid. Then, he forces his followers to drink it.
If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace.
The tape is 45 minutes long. In it, you can hear Jim Jones making outrageous claims, speaking of an army coming to torture them.
Plain as I know how to tell you, I've never lied to you. I never have lied to you.
When some of the members protest and wish to leave, he refuses.
No, you're not going. You're not going. You're not going.
Some members take the deadly drink willingly, while others are forced at gunpoint. The scene turns to chaos, and the recording becomes unbearable to hear.
Die with a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. Don't be this way. Oh, God.
A total of 918 people are killed in Jonestown, the first of which was Patricia Parks, Tracy's mother.
I've looked at several pictures of my mom on that day. I'll never forget the look on her face. She was a loving person. She didn't deserve to die.
I didn't see her get shot, but I saw her brains in the plane, and I saw her laying out on the ground.
They shot the reporters on the ground, the congressman. They come from the pickup, the dump truck from the other side and got off and stuck the gun to their heads, point blank.
Kids have to go back to nothing without a mom, start life all over again. I was thinking about what I was going to have to live with the rest of my life.
The world is shook by what took place on November 18th, 1978. But few lost more than Tracy Parks. All her life, she lived inside of the People's Temple, and at 12 years old, she now has to enter the real world, without her mother there to help her.
I just drank because that's how I hid my pain as a teenager.
For all the survivors, demons from Jonestown show up in the years to come in different ways. A pattern of violence comes back too often. On October 24th, 1983, Paula Jean Newstall and her child are shot dead by Lawrence E. Mann, the child's father. On February 24th, 1984, Tyrone Mitchell opens fire on an elementary school in Los Angeles before ending his life. In 2014, Chris O'Neill, a boy who escaped with Tracy and Brenda in the forest, is shot down by police after a domestic dispute. But not all survivors turn to violence. Even after the tragic death of her sister Brenda in 2013, Tracy Parks remains a fighter, determined to honor her mother's memory.
This is harder than I thought.
30 years after Patricia Parks' death, her daughter Tracy returns to that airstrip. There, she lays down 5 roses, a picture of her mother, and a cross.
I just wanted to say goodbye.
As for Gerald, Tracy's father, he devotes his life to his family. After helping to raise his 2 granddaughters, he becomes a great-grandpa to 6 girls. His family means everything to him, and he always makes sure to put them first.
I think about my wife very often, whether she hears me or not, whether there's a hereafter or not. When I go to bed at night, I tell her I love her.
Gerald dies on November 1st, 2022. In Jonestown, there was a sign hung up on the wall. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. Tracy didn't know what it meant back then, but today, this sign is the reason she shares her story. She says, if I keep quiet, Jim Jones wins.
A tragedy of that magnitude affects you the rest of your life. Either you flail or you succeed. And I chose to succeed because I wanted my mom to be proud of me.
That one should show you life lesson. Be careful who you put your faith in. your trust in, because you never know. They might appear to be a godsend, what's good for everyone, just like any other person. Be careful who you follow, put your faith in, because in hindsight, the grass is probably not greener on the other side. Because right now, grass is definitely pretty non-existent. And the history repeating itself, how do you know if it's repeating itself if it's rewritten, if it's covered up? Can't repeat it if you don't know about it. It's why history has changed in the past 30 to 40 years. Even Hillary Clinton admitted it. If it doesn't work out in our favor, we'll just rewrite it. True story. Now, so it's much easier to get a following like that today because of social media and being an influencer. And sometimes those influencers, as we've seen in previous episodes, have dark secrets. So without further ado, the last story of the day. When YouTubers
I have never before seen a police officer almost break down in the witness box, so affected was he by the sight. You removed her from there and took her to a secluded spot where you violated and murdered her.
More than 600 people packed the funeral home in Courtbridge to say goodbye to little Alicia, many wearing pink in her memory as her family had asked.
First, we're going to start off with subscribers on YouTube. I've vastly had a little breaking point in the middle of 9 subscribers where I slowed down and didn't get very many subscribers.
Something could have been done, that there could have been further action taken to make sure that this never happened.
In the early hours of July 2nd, 2018, the body of a lifeless 6-year-old girl was found in the abandoned Cowes of Bute Hydropathic Hotel in Rothesay, Isle of Bute, Scotland, by a member of the public. A small manhunt had been underway after the young girl's grandfather had come to the realization that she wasn't sound asleep in her bed, where only hours before her father had left her to fall asleep to Peppa Pig. But the circumstances surrounding the girl's death would prove ever more tragic as the details surrounding the case began to unpack. And the monster behind the killing, an aspiring YouTuber, would be at the forefront of the investigation thanks to the help of his mother. This is the case of Alicia McPhail, the 6-year-old girl murdered in a sad twist of fate on one summer's night in July. Just a quick disclaimer before we continue, this story contains details about child sexual abuse. So if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, then feel free to select one of the hundreds of other videos on the channel. As always though, thank you for your time, and let's get on with the case. To start this tale, we've got to travel roughly 55 miles from Rothesay into the heart of Scotland, Airdrie, a small town situated just outside of Glasgow. And on the 22nd of October 2011, Alicia McPhail was born to parents Georgina Lochrain and Robert McPhail. For the first couple of months, the family unit was strong. They were ready for the future. But as the third...
Why does the mom look like a kid herself?
months swung around, the couple ended the relationship on relatively good terms. We don't know in-depth details as to why that was, but they stayed in touch with each other, so Alicia would have a healthy relationship with both parents moving forward. Over the period of her short life, she would make trips every 2 weekends from Airdrie to Rothesay to visit Robert. When the pair had broke up, he moved back there to his parents' 3-bedroom flat, and Alicia had her own little space within the property all to herself. She loved it there, trips trips to the beach, park, swimming were made, amongst other activities. She was always out and about, but if for whatever reason she couldn't go anywhere, she would stay inside and spend her time watching TV or YouTube with her father's side of the family. Back home in Airdrie, the trips were understandably not as frequent. I mean, she did go to Rothesay for short breaks after all, but Georgina still put the effort in and did right by her daughter. She made sure her attendance was 100% at school, any of her daily needs were always sorted, and at home, Georgina pushed Alicia to pursue her hobby of creating videos. She too had a dream of one day making it on YouTube.
So today I'm going to show you all about pasta, such up here. I'm going to be telling you all about pasta. So first of all, pasta is a food. Everyone knows that. And pasta is now made all over the world. This is a picture of pasta, which I don't know.
I don't know. Kind of have a slight issue with a 6-year-old actually having their own YouTube channel as well. That's just asking for trouble.
Kind of pasta, so you'll be happy to see it. It's going to show you around about this is the first page, and this is what this is. So instead of having fun with this, so this is the page that they both make dough, and this is the page we're really at. I'll show you some of the pages because I'm not sure about the pages. This is your last one, and these are all the vegetables you can put in pasta. So, guys, this is the end of my video showing you around this book and telling you stuff. And I hope you subscribe and tell me down below if you like this video. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Don't you forget to subscribe. Bye.
The young girl had a bright future ahead of her. Head teacher Wendy Davey had this to say: Alicia enjoyed reading and was a perfectionist when it came to her writing. She was a considerate child who loved being a part of a group and was popular among the students. Other teachers spoke of her being bright and bubbly, who would always come into class with a big, beautiful smile. But sadly, as the final bell rang for the summer of 2018, that would unfortunately be the last time any of her teachers would ever see her alive again. On the 28th of June 2018, Alicia made her way over to Rothesay to spend 3 weeks with her father, her father's girlfriend Tony McLachlan, and her grandparents. When she arrived, she wanted to go Highland dancing, but by the time they reached the club for the session, it had finished. Instead, a trip to Ettrick Bay Beach was arranged by her grandparents. She'd been to the beach many times before, it was one of her favourites. The day was eventful, it was like many others she had in the past, but as the day drew to an end, it was time to head back to the 3-bedroom flat, where the family spent the rest of the night together. Over the next couple of days, the summer holiday would be packed full of fun. More days out were core memories that they'll cherish forever. One in particular was a gala day on the island. Callum, Alicia's grandfather, remembers Alicia going on rides, having the time of her life. Then came the 1st of July. That day too was packed full of emotions, ups and downs, but sadly this story doesn't end how we'd all like it to. And it was this day that would not only shake the small communities of Rothesay and Airdrie, rather the whole nation. The day starts off as follows. Everyone wakes up and shares breakfast together. Alicia's watching YouTube, doing the usual on her summer holiday morning, but today she's heading back to her hometown of Airdrie with her grandfather Callum to attend a friend's birthday party. Only problem is when they arrive, they're 24 hours late, but a birthday party is taking place at the venue in question. Hey Alicia, it's one of her friends. Why don't you join me? So she joins and enjoys the day. Alicia had attended the party, although she didn't actually know the person whose birthday it was. But as she had mutual friends at the bash, the parents allowed her to stay after her and her grandfather made the 55-mile trip. The party was a blast, but eventually it was time to head back to the Isle of Bute. And on the drive back, Callum would share one final memory with Alicia that would stick with him until this very day. For the whole 55-mile trip, she would hit Callum on the back of the head with a balloon she had acquired from the party. When they reached a beach in Rothesay, she had attempted to do it again, but this time she let go and it blew off down the shoreline. Alicia chased it for a short while, but in the end it burst and the two shared a laugh. From here, Alicia was dropped into town to her father Robert and his girlfriend Tony, who spent a few hours with her down a local park before her grandma Angela collected the trio. They headed home but had passed a local supermarket to pick up some dinner. Upon arriving back home, food was made, put on the table, and ate. Everyone began to wind down, and at around 10 PM, Alicia was taken to bed. Her favourite Peppa Pig DVD was put on the TV, but out of nowhere, 30 minutes later, she burst into her grandparents' room, gave them a big kiss and a cuddle before uttering the words, "Good night, Grandpa." At around 11 PM, Callum went to go and check on Alicia to make sure she'd fell asleep. She had done, so now he could go to bed and rest easy knowing that his granddaughter was sound asleep.
This is a vlog.
Yo, am I the only one that still does that? Before I go to bed, I make sure all my kids are still here. It's weird.
I'm just here to talk.
I don't think a lot of parents do.
I'm first gonna start off with subscribers on YouTube. I've had a little breaking point in the middle of 9 subscribers where I slowed down and didn't get very many subscribers. But now I'm fast getting subscribers. I'm already up at 21 within about a week. So from 9 to 16 within a week.
Yeah, but I also,
quite good.
are your kids
like
18
my
and
dream
21?
is obviously to
Not to
get the
mention
same amount of
15.
subscribers as PewDiePie, maybe Yogscaster Syndicate, just people like that. Also, don't worry guys, I'm not just doing Minecraft. Other series plural. Other series will be on the way. Grammar. It's just, you need to remember that it's hard to get noticed on YouTube, and every person that clicks that subscribe button, that helps a lot more than you think. Trust me. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Bye. See you guys later. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Why do I repeat things, guys? Why do I repeat things? It's so annoying.
You're probably right, Batman.
Oh, I cry. I cry for you. Yeah, see, look, there was tears coming from my eyes. I cry.
This is the face of evil. Although a young Aaron Campbell looks like he wouldn't hurt to fly here, in the years to come he would go on to commit one of, if not the most heinous crime in Scotland. There isn't much information out there detailing Aaron's life, other than the few bits of information that's widely available on the internet. If we rewind the clock back to the 7th of May 2002, Aaron Thomas Campbell was born in Shrewsbury, England, a distance from where he would eventually grow up. In 2007, his family relocated to the Isle of Bute for reasons currently unknown. Details on his family life are conflicting also. On the one hand, some reports say that he suffered both emotional and physical abuse from his mother Jeanette while growing up. Others contest that. What we do know is that Aaron's father Christopher, a supervisor in the oil industry, had spent time away from the home quite frequently due to work. With just Aaron, his sister and mother in the house, some reports say that Aaron and Jeanette would constantly argue when she had one too many to drink. Disclaimer, she would drink quite often. In 2014, Aaron Campbell would start to post to YouTube. He had aspirations of becoming as big as PewDiePie one day, and what started off as gaming content in his early days of posting would turn into parkour and vlog style of videos as he grew older. His lifestyle would begin to change and his content matched that. As he would go out more, he would film outside rather than stay inside on his computer, although he wanted to eventually go to university to study game design. Throughout his time at secondary school, he was described as being a well-liked teen with a large friend group, not the usual stereotype of someone who would eventually go on to commit the type of crime he would go on to commit. But there was one small detail that I've left out that begins to paint a picture of what really ran through Aaron's mind, and although his friend group often brushed this off as him being a quote edgy teen, in hindsight that was definitely not the case. In 2017, a Facebook conversation between Aaron and a female friend of his took place about a true crime documentary. We don't know in-depth details about that conversation other than he went on to say quote, "I might kill one day for the lifetime experience." From the summer of 2017, by Aaron's own admission, he had spent roughly a year thinking about doing something excessive, including rape, and when that opportunity was handed to him, he took it. If we take Aaron's word of when he got to know Tony, we can get a rough estimate as to when the first domino falls in this story. He would later come out to say that he and Tony had been friends with benefits in the winter of 2017. This statement is believed to be false, however, and the relationship between the two was strictly business. The drugs business, that is. You see, Robert had sold cannabis to people in the local area. It wasn't a big operation, rather to support his own habit. Tony was in on it too, and with Aaron being the outgoing person he was at this point, also dabbling in drugs and alcohol, it's not surprising that the two crossed paths. The relationship between both parties would turn sour in February of 2018, however, after Aaron complained that the quality of Robert's product was poor, and so Aaron never paid the £10 debt that he owed to Robert. So this is where the story starts to come full circle, and believe it or not, for months, Aaron and Robert never crossed paths, although there was one occasion in where Aaron had almost crossed paths with Alicia and her grandparents. As you know, when Alicia arrived in the Isle of Bute on the 28th of June 2018, the trio attended Ettrick Bay Beach. Well, it was only 2 days later that Aaron, celebrating that the school year was complete, had also attended the beach to go camping with some friends. It was here a plan was thrown together to throw a house party at his 7-bedroom house the following day on the 1st of July. The party went ahead, 15 friends were invited over, and overall it had been good vibes. Aaron had drank a bottle of Mad Dog fortified wine, and she had a bottle of Echo Falls wine with a friend. I got drunk, Aaron recalls. I wasn't sick, I was just having a good time. However, as the party drew to a close at around 12:30 AM on July 2nd, Aaron's mood changed after arguing with his mum for the majority of the night. Everyone had left the party, but one friend had to go back because he forgot his bag. Upon arriving, he remembers finding Aaron in an emotional state and recalled he felt suicidal. The friend stayed with Aaron for a while because he felt worried, but this friend had managed to get Aaron's spirits back up. I'm gonna go and get some weed, then head off to bed. Thanks for everything, mate. And the two parties went their separate ways. The friend back home to his bed, for Aaron to source out some cannabis and do the same thing. In a drunken state, he was going to contact Robert to see if he had any weed on him, but didn't bother pestering him because he remembered that he owed him money. So he thought he'd try to ring Tony instead, but she didn't respond. In fact, Aaron had attempted to message various drug dealers to find some drugs, but because it was late, everyone was asleep. For some reason, again more than likely because he was drunk, he hatched a plan in where he wanted to steal some cannabis from Robert instead. He had already robbed him once anyway, even if it wasn't necessarily to his face. So why not do it again? And so he crept downstairs, took a knife from the kitchen, and headed over to Robert's to steal this cannabis stash. He was captured on CCTV at around 1:54 AM on the 2nd of July 2018, making his way towards Robert's to execute this plan. When he arrived a short while later, the door had been unlocked. He didn't even have to break in. He just walked in. The cannabis was about to be his in a matter of moments. Maybe, just maybe then, he didn't even have to bring the knife after all. Well, that isn't exactly what happened. You see, it was true everyone was sleeping, and his initial plan was to steal this cannabis stash. But as he was looking around the house for it, he came across little Alicia sleeping in bed. Her bedroom was the closest to the front door. Now, instead of thinking to himself, I better back away, she's a child, he saw this as the perfect opportunity to act on dark thoughts that had ran through his head. It was a moment of opportunity. All I thought about was killing her once I saw her. So the initial plan was scrapped, and Aaron scooped Alicia up out of bed in the dead of night, right from under the supervision of her grandparents, her father, and her father's girlfriend. She was described as being in a deep sleep when leaving the property itself, but had woke slightly from the cold breeze when outside. She wasn't panicked though. Who are you? Where are we going? Shush shush now, I'm your dad's friend, I'm taking you home. I'm cold. Hold on, here's my jacket. Although Aaron's small gesture of gifting Alicia his jacket might seem nice, in reality, it was to give her a false sense of security. We don't know if Alicia fell back asleep, but she certainly didn't put up a fight. She was just 6 after all. It's not like she would have been aware of what was going on. Over the space of the next 30 minutes, they made their way down the coastline out of public view. Around here is where Aaron disposed of his knife, and around here, the pair were captured on home surveillance footage. Although that footage hasn't been released to the public. The journey would continue down the coastline until they reached a wooded area and onto the land which surrounded the then at the time abandoned Cowes of Bute Hydropathic Hotel. When arriving at the hotel grounds, Aaron raped Alicia before going on to murder her via significant forceful pressure to her neck and face. She ended up with 117 separate injuries, mostly scratches and abrasions, but some of her injuries from the rape are too horrific that I don't even want to mention them in this video. After leaving Alicia's lifeless, vulnerable, naked body on the grounds of the hotel, Aaron left the scene and made his way back to the coastline. From here, he made his way home, and at roughly 3:35 AM, he's picked up on his home surveillance camera jumping over a wall. Ten minutes later, at 3:45 AM, he spotted once again leaving the property wearing only shorts and carrying clothes. He sprinted when outside his gate. He would make his way back to the coastline and dump the clothes in the ocean.
Yep. There he is. Didn't look like he was running to me. All right, now he is.
When he returned 7 minutes later, he was spotted wearing only shorts. He climbed over a wall and went back into his home. The clothes he was carrying have disappeared. Of course, he disposed of them in the sea. Six minutes later, he spotted once again, sprinting out of the house having changed clothes and carrying what looks like a torch. Then at 4:07 AM, he returned to his house for a final time. At roughly 6 AM on the 2nd of July 2018, Callum McPhail woke up for work. He went to go and check on Alicia to make sure everything was okay, but when he did, she wasn't there. He frantically began searching around her bedroom, and when he couldn't find her, he woke the flat up to aid in the search. The family soon realised that Alicia was missing. Her bike was still in the garden. She had never run away before, so they were scratching their heads as to how this could have happened. A 999 call was placed at around 6:23 AM. The family were now fully awake and out of the house searching for the little girl. Angela had posted a Facebook appeal for everyone in the local area to keep an eye out for Alicia and to report back if anyone knew of her whereabouts. Sadly, this is how Alicia's mother would find out that she was missing. She never received a call from anyone. Not even the police informed her. Over the next 2.5 hours, tens of residents were in the streets looking far and wide, the police too. Even the Coast Guard and helicopter units came out to assist in the search.
Way to find out.
And around 6:55 AM, the first piece of evidence was found. The knife Aaron had discarded was found by the Coast Guard on the shoreline. As the call was being placed to police at around 6:23 AM, Tony had attempted to call none other than Aaron Campbell. Remember, he tried to call her a few times hours earlier in search of cannabis. At 9:01 AM, she got this response from him. Sorry, doesn't matter. A small conversation then ensued. Want to keep an eye out for Rab's wee girl, please? Yeah, what's happened? She's went missing from house, Police are looking for her and helicopter is out. Oh damn, I'm sure she's not went too far. Hopefully. Aaron Campbell thought he had pulled the wool over everyone's eyes and had probably thought that his dark secret would never be brought to light. Well, he was wrong. As that text message exchange was underway, police had only moments before been informed by a member of the public that they had found Alicia on the grounds of the hotel. Her family were informed a short while later. Initially, no arrests were made in relation to the investigation, but maximum police resources were put into it. Multiple officers patrolled the streets, parts of the Isle of Bute were completely cordoned off, and even more officers participated in door-to-door inquiries. So whoever the perpetrator was, it wasn't going to be a long time before they were caught. Hopefully. Police Scotland had put out multiple appeals on social media for anyone to come forward, and that's when one woman, Jeanette Campbell, Aaron's mother, came forward with CCTV footage of Aaron moving suspiciously on the night Alicia was abducted, raped and murdered. Jeanette spoke to Aaron about his movements on that night and wanted police to rule him out as a suspect. She had a lengthy chat with him before handing the footage over to police and had asked if he knew any information about the case or, even worse, had committed the offence. He was adamant he had nothing to do with any of it and said he didn't know anyone who could have potentially been the perpetrator. She warned him that DNA evidence would be found by police, so if he was lying, he'd be caught out anyway when police take him in for questioning. Still, he remained calm and collected, told his mother he knew nothing, and she came forward to police with evidence. Aaron Campbell was first brought in for questioning as a potential witness. Detectives say he answered all questions put forward to him. He remained calm and didn't act suspiciously when they spoke to him. However, by the 4th of July, with extra evidence brought forward, he would be brought in again as a suspect, with new evidence pinpointing him to the crime. And what a surprise, his whole demeanour changed, and he began to give no comment answers to police. Various pieces of evidence had came forward via CCTV, DNA, and even phone data analysis. On the day after the murder, Aaron had searched collecting DNA evidence on his phone and had also posted a sinister Snapchat to a group of people. In the snap, he posted a picture of him pointing at himself in the mirror with the caption, "Found the guy who done it." It's not hard to see then why police ended up charging him in relation to the investigation. Aaron Campbell would go on to deny the charges that were brought against him, and logged what's being quoted as a special defence of incrimination. In other words, he tried to argue that Tony was responsible for Alicia's death. In court, he took to the witness stand and claimed he had sexual intercourse with Tony in a garage on the night in question, suggesting that she murdered Alicia and used a condom to plant his semen on Alicia's body. Aaron's lawyers asserted that Tony was jealous of the attention Alicia received from the family, and more specifically of Robert. Aaron Campbell answered questions for about 2 hours, offering explanations for the prosecution's evidence while appearing unfazed, according to a journalist within the courtroom. But if you didn't guess it by now, the jury saw straight through his lies, and after only 3 hours of deliberation, they found Aaron Campbell guilty of the abduction, rape and murder of 6-year-old Alicia MacPhail on the 21st of February 2019. Aaron remained emotionless as the guilty verdict was given. A sentencing hearing was then set for the 21st of March 2019, and within that time, Aaron had finally confessed to his crime to Dr. Gary McPherson, a consultant forensic clinical psychologist and social worker. He revealed that Aaron told him that he was, quote, quite satisfied with the murder, and said it took, quote, everything to stop laughing during points of the trial, adding, quote, he had to zip his mouth shut. Dr. McPherson's report that was eventually given to the judge before sentencing also stated that Aaron at that point had, quote, continued to experience thoughts of killing and having sex with children and having sex with dead bodies. In Scotland, people who commit crimes under the age of 18, by law, have to have their names hidden from the public domain, unless a judge feels like it's in the best interest of the public that their name is out there. Normally, news organisations have to lodge some kind of appeal for their name to be released, and in Aaron's case, his name went public even though he was under the age of 18 at the time.
Aaron Thomas Campbell, you were found guilty of the abduction, rape and murder of Alicia MacPhail, a 6-year-old child. Merely stating that fact is horrific enough, but the circumstances surrounding these vile crimes and the manner of their commission have quite rightly aroused revulsion and disbelief that these sorts of things could happen. Alicia had just arrived on Bute to spend a holiday with her father and grandparents and had gone to bed apparently safe in her own room. No doubt she was looking forward to what the next few weeks had in store. Her father and his parents would have enjoyed every minute of it, while her mother and her family would have been counting down the days till they saw her smiling face again. Meanwhile, you attended a party at your own home, consumed alcohol, and then, on your account, to which I will return, went off in search of cannabis. You went into the house and then her bedroom. You removed her from there and took her to a secluded spot where you violated and murdered her in the most brutal fashion. The details of that were revealed in the evidence, and I do not intend to go over them again. It is difficult to imagine the distress which her family must have suffered, not only when she went missing, but when the awful news came in that she had been found dead. That distress can only have been intensified, if that was possible, by their finding out the extent of what you did to her, not only in the weeks and months immediately afterwards, but in the course of the trial. I have read statements by her parents and grandparents in which they have tried to express their loss and the emptiness which greets them every day. Just as I know that no sentence which I can pass will alleviate their anguish, so I know that mere words are poor reflections of it. The effect on the Ireland community was profound. Many of them rallied round to help in the search, and the effect on those who saw Alicia in the woods will be long-lasting. I have never before seen a police officer almost break down in the witness box, so affected was he by the sight. The contrast between them and you could not be more vivid. Your attitude was clearly demonstrated by the evidence that you posted an image of yourself in a mirror while making a joke that you had found where the murderer was hiding. The arrogance and callousness of that is breathtaking. Thanks to the dedication of the police and forensic scientists, ably assisted by members of the public, such as those who came forward when they found articles of your clothing on the shore, you were eventually brought to justice. Despite the overwhelming evidence against you, you did not plead guilty but elected to go to trial. That was your right, and I do not increase your sentence because of it. However, it is symptomatic of your staggering lack of remorse. Not once during the trial did I detect a flicker of emotion from you, and that was also the experience of the professionals who interviewed you for the purposes of the reports, to which I will turn shortly. Your defence was one of incrimination of a young woman, Toni Louise McLaughlin, and you gave evidence in support of it. It was a cruel travesty of the truth, which was understandably reported widely in the media, and left her open to suspicion at the very least, and quite possibly hatred, all of which was due to your perverted machinations. I am very grateful to Mr McConaughey, who today made it clear that she was completely innocent. Mr McConaughey has said all that could be said on your behalf, entirely in keeping with the exemplary way the trial was conducted on both sides of the bar. All matters of fact which could reasonably be agreed were agreed, and the issues were well focused and laid before the jury. As I said to the jury after they returned their verdict, counsel do not make up defences, but present the case on the basis of their instructions. It is obvious what your instructions were, and your evidence was entirely in keeping with them, albeit it was a tissue of lies. It does not go too far, therefore, when I say that I was shocked when I saw the contents of the Criminal Justice Social Work Report and the report from Dr McPherson, the Consultant Forensic Clinical Psychologist. Each of these reports contains clear admissions by you of your guilt. Not only that, and this is a terrible thing to say of one so young, but they paint a clear picture of a cold, callous, calculating, remorseless and dangerous individual. I do not intend to go into every detail of the reports or of your admissions, since much of it would, I think, be distressing, and much of it merely confirms some of the evidence which was led. However, I think it right that the public, and more particularly her family, be given some flavour of the contents. Dr McPherson noted that you presented your account in a matter-of-fact manner, notable for the absence of any emotions. He recorded that you told him that in the 12 months prior to the murder, you entertained thoughts of doing something excessive, including rape. Your account, in brief, was that you had been drinking but wanted cannabis and decided to break into the house to get some. You took a kitchen knife because you wanted to protect yourself, but having gained entry, you left the house and disposed of it. You returned to the house and entered Alicia's bedroom. Amongst other things, Dr. McPherson records that you told him that you had
So he left to throw away the knife and then went back? Nah, bro, that was planned. You knew what you were doing.
consumed 1.5 bottles of wine between 8 o'clock and 8:30, but that you did not feel intoxicated, although you told the social worker that you still felt the effects of it. You were not under the influence of any illicit substances. He records that when you saw Alicia, your reaction, according to you, was as follows, and I quote, "A moment of opportunity. At any other time in life, murder wouldn't have been the conclusion. If I was a year younger, I don't think I would have done it. All I thought about was killing her once I saw her." You told both Dr. McPherson and the social worker in some detail what you did. You said that Alicia was drowsy and became a bit more awake when you went outside. At one point she asked who you were and where you were going. You said you were a friend of her father's and that you were taking her home. You gave her your top because she was cold. I will not go into the horrific and cold-blooded details of what you said you did to her, but you explained that after you murdered Alicia, you threw your blood-stained clothing into the sea, had a shower, and then went back where you left her to retrieve your phone.
Oh.
Dr. McPherson reports that you told him that over the next few days you were totally unconcerned, other than to be mildly amused that the police had not arrested you. Two other aspects of his report are worth mentioning. The first is that you told him that at points during the trial it took everything to stop you laughing and you had to zip your mouth. The second is that you volunteered that you were quite satisfied with the murder. According to all of the reports, you are not suffering from any mental health disorder, and indeed you are not suffering from any syndrome or disorder of any kind. On the other hand, you are completely lacking in victim empathy, the social worker noting your cold, calculating manner. The only sentence I can impose on you is detention without limit of time. In addition, you will be subject to the notification provisions of the Sexual Offences Act 2003 for an indefinite period. However, I also have to specify a period which must pass before you can apply for release on parole. Whether you will ever be released will be for others to determine. But as matters stand, a lot of work will have to be done to change you before that could be considered. It may even be impossible. The period I select is known as the punishment part of the sentence, and its purpose is to satisfy the requirements of retribution and deterrence. The parole board will deal in due course with the protection of the public. I have taken account of the circumstances of the offences, the contents of the reports, and everything said on your behalf. I am conscious that you are a child. In sentencing children, it has to be borne in mind that they are not yet fully rounded, mature human beings. A child's best interests are a primary consideration, and the desirability of the child's reintegration into society must also be taken into account. However, the weight to be given to the various sentencing considerations will depend on a number of factors, including the age of the child and all the circumstances of the case. The nature of these appalling offences and what I have read in the reports make it clear to me that reintegration and rehabilitation, while these are important considerations, are remote possibilities, and neither your best interests nor anyone else's will be served by a speedy return to the community. Nonetheless, the punishment part will not be as long as it would have been had you been an adult. Your sentence will run from 6 July 2018. You will be detained without limit of time, and I fixed the punishment part at 27 years.
Oh!
So Aaron Campbell was jailed for 27 years, but later on in 2019, he went for an appeal hearing and the judge knocked 3 years off that sentence. To sum up, the appeal judge handed a new sentence of 24 years because he felt that 27 years would be more applicable for an adult rather than a child, which at that point, Aaron was. Fast forwarding to 2022 then, and over these past few years, Aaron hasn't been holding up that great in jail to say the least. Reports from late 2019 state that his family have completely disowned him, with his mother Jeanette scared to visit prison in case she's attacked herself. She'd been visiting prison while he was on remand when his name wasn't public, but to my best knowledge, no one since his name has gone public has visited him. Then, only a couple months back from when I'm recording this video, reports emerged that prison justice had been served when Aaron Campbell was hospitalized following a brutal beating at the Paramount Young Offenders Institute. According to prison sources, Aaron has been a #1 target for prisoners since his sentencing, and therefore has been too scared to leave his cell. Well, no one has forgotten about his crime, and one day in June of 2022, his cell door was left slightly open during mealtime. One fellow prisoner then burst through the door, put Aaron through the beating of a lifetime. It was that bad, the guard had to pull the inmate off him. Aaron was rushed to hospital after his tooth penetrated through his lip.
Well, I'm glad this kid got caught. Because he obviously got plenty of pleasure out of it. And if he had not gotten caught, I feel like this would have been a guy who was like, oh shit, I got away with it. And then he's the kind that would go on to make money off videos like Daisy's Destruction. This guy did this when he was a fucking teenager, not even an adult. So I know we're always into talking about, hey, we need to make sure adults aren't talking to kids. We also got to make sure the kids that are hanging out with our kids aren't psychopaths. Right? This kid was pretty much given opportunity to walk away, but he kept going. Why? What makes a kid, think, you know what? I want to see what it's like to rape somebody. Said no one ever, at least that I know, especially as a teenager. But not only to decide to go through it, but do it with a 6-year-old who has no idea what in the world is going on, and she never will. Because pain was the last thing she remembers. Forever. And it's good on Scotland for letting people beat the shit out of him. It's great. And I don't think you're gonna make it 24 years, bud. I'm glad that you're the #1 target. Parents, children, and misguided individuals. Careful who you follow, because you might be led down the wrong paths. Or just make your own path. Stop following somebody. Be that lone wolf. Do I need to say it again? And it's the quiet ones you got to worry about. Don't need to howl. Not telling y'all how to think. I'm just telling y'all to think and stop living in a bubble. Because you live in a bubble, your kids will live in a bubble. What happens when that bubble disappears or pops and they're exposed to reality? Just think about it. don't think about how you can fix it in the now, because that's important. But also it's important how to keep it from happening again to somebody else. That's my message, and I'm sticking to it. Not really. Thank y'all. And happy Independence Day. Independence Day, yeah, some people know. And I hope y'all enjoy your day. Go light some fireworks. Try to keep all your fingers. Don't drink too much. Don't burn down your house. Don't beat your wife. Don't beat your kids. Don't beat your dogs. Don't fuck with kids. And yeah, peace, love, chicken grease.
There comes a time in every warrior's journey when the night seems darkest, the obstacles insurmountable, and the voices of doubt the loudest. It's in these shadows that our true strength is tested. Against all odds, against all haters, we must rise. They will say you can't. They will laugh at your dreams, scoff at your ambitions, and revel in your failures. The world is full of those who find comfort in your struggle, who find satisfaction in your pain. They are the ones who fear the light you possess, the fire that burns within you, the potential to transcend the mediocrity they embrace. But remember this, the night is darkest just before the dawn. It's in the heart of darkness that our resolve is forged, that our spirit becomes unbreakable. Every insult, every setback, every betrayal is fuel for your ascent. Let their hatred be the wind beneath your wings. Let their doubt be the anvil on which your will is sharpened. You are not defined by their opinions. You are not limited by their fears. You are a force of nature, a storm waiting to be unleashed. Embrace the struggle, cherish the pain, for they are the crucibles in which greatness is born. The world doesn't know you understanding. It doesn't know you success. You must seize it with both hands, wrest it from the jaws of impossibility, and make it your own. Against all odds, you will rise. Against all haters, you will stand tall. Your journey is your own, and no one can take it from you. So march forward with fire in your heart and steel in your veins. Prove them wrong, not with words, but with actions. Show them that you are unstoppable, unyielding, and destined for greatness. In the end, when you stand victorious on the summit of your dreams, let the echoes of their doubt be a distant memory, a testament to the strength you found in the darkest of times. Rise, conquer, and let your legacy be a beacon for those who dare to dream. The night is dark, but your spirit is a blazing inferno. Burn brightly, and let nothing extinguish your fire. The journey is long and arduous. It is paved with thorns and shadows, but each step you take forward is a testament to your resilience. The path to greatness is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who can endure the storm, who can withstand the battering winds of criticism and the hail of doubt. You will stumble. You will fall. You will face moments where the weight of the world seems too great to bear. But in those moments, you must dig deep, find the ember of determination within you, and let it ignite into a roaring flame. For every fall is an opportunity to rise stronger, every failure a chance to learn and grow. Do not seek validation from those who do not understand your vision. Their narrow perspectives cannot contain the vastness of your dreams. Instead, let your success be the loudest silence to their skepticism. Let your achievements be the resounding echo that drowns out their disdain. Surround yourself with those who believe in your potential, who see the warrior within you. Seek out those who lift you up, who challenge you to be better, to reach higher. Their support will be the bedrock upon which you build your empire. But even when you stand alone, know that you have within you everything you need to triumph. The power to overcome adversity, the courage to face your fears, and the tenacity to keep moving forward. You are a force to be reckoned with, a relentless spirit that refuses to be subdued. In the silence of the night, when doubt creeps in and hope seems distant, remember why you started. Recall the passion that ignited your journey, the dreams that fueled your desire. Let them be your guiding stars, leading you through the darkest of times. And when you reach the pinnacle of your aspirations, look back not with bitterness, but with pride. For every hater, every obstacle, every doubt was but a stepping stone to your greatness. They tried to break you, but they only made you stronger. Stand tall, my friends, with the fire of defiance in your eyes and the strength of 1,000 battles in your heart. Against all odds, you are destined to succeed. Against all haters, you will emerge victorious. The world will know your name, not for the obstacles you faced, but for the triumphs you achieved. So rise, with the darkness at your back and the light of your determination blazing ahead. This is your time. This is your destiny. Embrace it, conquer it, and let the world stand in awe of the warrior you have become.